Hey YouTube. Well, I got the sawmill started and everything, and it always starts up for me pretty quick, so it's nothing new. I need to do some cleaning of it soon. It's got a lot of dust on it and stuff. But anyway, today I'm interested in cutting some bevel siding a guy needs. He wants to make a little coop or something. I guess a dog coop or whatever. So he doesn't need a lot of pieces, but he needs some. He wants it to be able to stain it and make it look like the house. So I've got some in there, standing there, okay, but I need a couple more pieces yet. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. Alright guys, so this is hemlock, and I'm going to go straighten the log out there so I can get it on the mill properly. And then I'm going to be cutting it somewhere around in here, and I should be able to get an 8x8 out of that, because to make the kind of siding that I have the tools for, it should be 8 inches wide, the board, or the cant rather. So that's what I'm shooting for. Okay, so I got that laid on there pretty good. It's going to be a tough one to get an 8-inch cant out of. The back here looks like I can get it, but the front might be a little hard. So we'll have to see. The length of this thing has to be cut off, like I said, somewhere up in here. So we'll move the machine out of the way and see what we can do to get that ready to cut into siding. I had gotten a bunch of comments about my saw. I mean, I have a small saw here only because of my age. Believe me, I got bigger saws, and I've had much bigger saws, but I'm getting too old to be carrying them around. So this is a MS 170 still. It's the smallest saw that I know that they make. Now it usually starts in 5 pulls in the choked area. Sometimes it takes a little more, but it always starts up pretty good. So let me just show you. What I'm getting at is that I had it fixed. I had left gas in it over the winter, and I never used the saw. So that kind of messed me up, and it messed the saw up. But it's running good now. So you can see it's running good. I mean, it's a small saw, so it's not going to cut, you know, like a big timber saw. But for the money I paid for that thing, I think it was $179 4 years ago. So I've used that saw to cut everything that I can possibly cut. I mean, I've cut all kind of trees down with it. As long as I can get that blade around in 2 passes, you know, from each side, I'm okay with it. So I'm happy with that saw, really happy. I like it a lot. It usually runs good. This past year, when I went to cut some pine trees down, it was giving me some grief because it didn't want to run a full throttle. That's what was wrong with it. At one point in one of the videos there, I had a dull blade on it, and it wasn't running right, so it looked pretty bad. But the saw is actually a good saw. I have no complaints with it. Nothing's ever been broke on it, although one of the guys backed over the blade with a pickup truck. The blade was bent, and I had to change that around excuse me, to a new one. But the good thing is nothing's ever broke on it. It's always good. A lot of the parts on it are plastic. I'm not crazy about that, but they're made out of a good plastic. It doesn't just snap off that easily. So everything on it is working, and like I say, after 4 years, I have no complaints with it. Alright, let me take a look at this log now here. Okay, it's going to be real close to getting 8 inches out of this thing, I got to tell you. But we are going to do the best we can do. This side has to be picked up a little bit. What we have here is 12 inches, which will give me 8. And over here, we have 11 inches, which kind of decreases the size. If you look at the cant list here, an 11-inch log is 7.8 inches. So it's real close to 8, but it's, you know, it's not exactly 8. So let me see what I got here. 12 inches there. So I got to bring this up an inch. I got to bring it up an inch on this end. I want to start off with a flat cut that's going to give me a nice straight board or cant, because if I go too low on that small end down there, I'm going to end up with not enough wood to make the cut for the cant size. Thinking of bringing it up a little higher yet. This board's a little bit thicker than the other one. That should be pretty close. A lot of people ask me what I use WD-40. Really, the stuff in a can like this is too expensive to use, but I just had it. I like the stuff in a gallon can. It's cheaper. Or you can use diesel fuel and put it into a container. All I do though is just spray the roller guides on the saw, and I spray like screws and stuff just to keep them, you know, moist in case, because we had a whole lot of rain this past week and it just washed everything off. So that's what I use, WD-40. This end here is right on 8 inches. That end down there, the very end, is more like 6. Now 8 foot comes this way about 3 more inches. So it's real close to 8 inches. I'm not going to cut any more off of this for the moment. I'm going to just keep trying to trim it nice and easy to get to what I need. I need an 8x8 to get nice siding out of there. So that's what I'm going to be working on there. I'll see if I can't, I'll turn that and then see if I can't get another close to 8 inches out of that thing. That side's not too good at all. Down at that far end, I've only got at about 4 inches at the one spot there. Let's see, probably somewhere right there. But I'm going to roll it again and make a cut 8 inches off that bottom. I only have about an 8.5 inch cant left at that smaller end. So it's going to be a little tough, but it should get close. see that there's a low spot in the log. I don't know if you can see it better from here. Right in front of those little branches that are sticking up there. There's a low spot, and I came out of that. So, in order to get 8 inches, I'm going to have to take more of the cant than what I actually wanted to take. I mean, I can go down there probably 2 inches and end up with a really nice cant. The problem with that is you know, I'm cutting myself short of wood, but I'd only have 2 more hemlock logs left at the moment, and with the way the rattlesnakes have been up here, I don't feel like going in the woods cutting any at this time. Cutting a lot of 2x4s recently, not 1x. Now technically that piece that I just cut off there, because of how it is at the small end, it's about 1.5 inches there, close to 1 3/4 inches. I could probably get a 1-inch board out of there, a 1x4, but I'm really not interested in any more 1x. I've got a greenhouse full of them. I've got two stacks in the kiln right now. So I'm not really interested in any more 1x, because I've been cutting 2x4s, and that's what I have been getting rid of. People buy the 2x4s. So I'm going to take that piece off of there and scrap it, and then we'll cut the other side, the left side, and then we'll see what we have in siding there. See, it's pretty thick at that end, but it's real thin at this end. Well, one thing nice about this is it's all 8 inches long. In order to cut nice siding, I mean really nice looking siding, you really shouldn't have any cant or any wane on the board or the cant. So you can see there's a little bit of wane here, some up at the other end. Now, chances are he's going to be cutting most of this. I think the kennel is 4x4 or 4x3 or something. But anyway, I can use that to start cutting siding off of that. So like I say, it's nice when you have a nice clean cant, 8 inches to do the job. Now that doesn't mean you can't make the siding smaller, because there's a stop on the siding to keep it from moving. So, you know, you can slide it to like 6 inches if you wanted to. I'm not really crazy about that. Let me turn it over and see what it looks like. This isn't that bad, but it could be better. This side here you can see is pretty bad. Pretty much wane up there. So I could cut this down in size, but he could use these other smaller pieces. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and cut siding from there down, because that, I believe that's the 8-inch way. No, that's the 6-inch. I got to turn that one more turn. Yeah. So that's not that bad. It's not what I would want. Like when I made the siding for my siding shed, I had pretty good wood there. But it's hard to come up with some nice pine. People who have it don't really want to get rid of it. They like the pine tree in the yard. So let me get my tools for this. One thing about siding that you want to realize is that you have to make sure that you're following your cut. You know, if you're going to start with an up cut, an angled cut, and that's what you want because this is a flat cut, you got to remember that. So for me, with the tool I have here, and I make these tools, the only problem is I've been having some health issues, so they've been messing me up as far as getting some work done. But what you do is you put the angle, the lever straight out, and that'll give you the angle cut you're looking for. See there, if you look, and I'm sorry if you want me to just cut and not talk, but I talk and that's the way I do it. Anyway, if you look there, you can see that the saw blade is higher on one side than the other. So the better thing to do is to, when you can, and you know it's always a 50-50 chance, the better thing to do is to get the bottom part of the siding, the wide part, where the best wood is. Okay, now we don't have that with the next cut or this cut, but, or I mean this cut, but we're going to do the best we can, see what happens. I usually go down 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch lower than this side. So I got a half there, so I want to go down 7/8. What I wanted to say before is when you put these if you buy these siding things off of me or you make them, the jig, you notice I have them in pretty far. The more wood you cut off, the chances of the cant bending. So you want to try and keep the cant fillet as flat as you can. Now you can see it's beveled there. This side has wane on it, but up in here it's pretty nice. So it's not a perfect piece of siding. I said that from the start. But when you have a big enough cant, you can make it beautiful. So I'm just going to go ahead and use these measurements on here. It's roughly 3/8 on one side and 7/8 on the other. And I'm going to use that as a guide to cut the siding for this fella. To turn this little thing. Alright, so you got to put these down then for the next cut. One thing nice about this siding is that because the edges are hidden when you're done and the only thing you see is the very face, if you're off in thickness, chances of you noticing that are very slim. I mean, you'll see it when you're cutting it and stuff, but you're really not going to see it when the siding's hanging up, because all you see is the front. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. See, the siding is basically just the front you're looking at. You're not really seeing the sides, especially if you use a heavy board for your corners. So once it's painted, it looks pretty good. Now, it's been pretty hot out, so that's drying and bending a little here and there, but still very nice stuff. I like it a lot. I think that putting it up is it's about as hard as regular siding. You got to cut it with a saw naturally, but even so, it still comes out pretty nice. With this being hemlock, you need to realize that hemlock lasts a pretty long time. I mean, it'll last probably as long as a person's age, but you got to maintain it. You know, you got to paint it every now and then, or stain it, spray it or something. But if you were cutting red oak, or not red oak, redwood or cedar, you have something that's going to outlast you more than once. So you could just polyurethane it or don't even do anything to it and nail it up. But this is good for a dog tent. It's actually nice for a house depending upon, you know, what you got on the house. Okay guys, sorry about that, my camera went dead. What I wanted to show you was this really nice piece that came off of here. This is a good full piece of siding here. So anyway, what I was saying before, in case you missed it with the camera, is that you know, whether it's redwood or cedar, that's something that'll last forever when you cut it in the siding. Now, as far as the hemlock goes, it won't last as long, but it'll usually, if you keep it stained, it'll outlast you, that's for sure. Alright, so I need to cut this again. you notice on that cut there on the back, let me just see what you can see. Right now it's been cutting all cuts that are perpendicular to the center of the tree there, so quarter sawn cuts, and they're coming out pretty nice. So that siding will stay nice then. The only thing is, when you nail it up, you want to make sure you don't use too big of a nail, because when it's quarter sawn like that, it'll split easy. Now if you look across the top of the piece, and I know it's hard for the camera, but if you look across the top, if the board gets thinner or thicker, then you know that it's kind of bending a little bit. This one looks good yet, so I can continue going. Otherwise you may have to change where you have the tools that do the adjustment. What happened there is I'm down to some wane here, and the dog couldn't really hold it, so I got to move this a little bit. On both sides there's wane. On both sides there's wane, so the wane is tearing off on this side here. Alright, so we came up with 10 pieces there. 10 pieces of siding, which aren't bad. That top piece I might lay down and take a little bit off of that yet. I think it's a little too thick. So let me do that quick. Well, I'm just looking at that. I won't be able to do that because I can't get that close to it. I can only get within an inch, so that piece there is going to have to be a little bit heavier. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I need to clean up here and get the video loaded up. Our internet's been acting up as well as the phone, the electricity, and everything else around here. I don't know why. We've had days and days of rain. It would rain in the morning, then it would rain at night. So anyway, have a good one. Bye.